For centuries, the human condition has been a study in contradictions. We dream of monumental changes, yet falter on the first, smallest step. We envision a better self, healthier, smarter, more disciplined, but often find ourselves trapped in the invisible chains of old routines. The gap between who we are and who we want to be is paved with good intentions and the debris of failed New Year's resolutions. This documentary is not about motivation, which is fleeting, nor is it about willpower, which is finite. It is an investigation into the silent architecture of our lives, the system of habits that determines our destiny. Consider the simple act of flossing, or reading 10 pages, or merely putting on your running shoes. These are not grand heroic deeds. They are tiny, almost microscopic behaviors. Yet, when aggregated over weeks, months, and years, these micro-actions become the foundation of colossal achievement. They are the compound interest of self-improvement. The failure to adopt them is not a moral failing, it is a systemic misunderstanding of the brain's operating manual. For too long, we have treated habit formation as an event, a surge of energy followed by inevitable decay. The truth, buried deep within behavioral science and neuroscience, is that a sticky habit is a process, a gradual descent from conscious effort to automaticity. The core mystery we will unravel is this: why do some behaviors become automatic, like checking our phone or making a morning coffee, while others, which we desperately desire, remain elusive and require agonizing effort? The answer lies in the 4 laws of behavior change, a universal code that dictates the success or failure of any new routine. We will meet the scientists, the athletes, and the everyday people who cracked this code. We will journey through the history of self-help, separating the enduring wisdom from the motivational fluff. This is the definitive guide to understanding not just what habits are, but how to wire them into the very core of your identity. The difference between a lifetime of struggle and a lifetime of effortless progress is simply knowing how to make a habit stick. Our journey begins not in the motivational seminar room, but in the laboratory of the mind. To understand habits, we must first understand the fundamental loop they inhabit, the neurological feedback mechanism that turns a sequence of actions into an ingrained pattern. This loop, often simplified to cue, craving, response, and reward, is the ghost in the machine that operates our lives on autopilot. We are, in essence, our habits. Over 40% of our daily actions are not conscious decisions, but habits. Imagine the sheer volume of your existence being run by processes you are barely aware of. Our key subjects are the pioneers who mapped this territory. We introduced Dr. Graybiel, whose work at MIT illuminated the basal ganglia, the brain region that acts as the storage locker for our habits. Her research, often involving complex maze navigation, revealed that as a behavior becomes automatic, the active thought process in the brain shrinks. The brain literally conserves energy, handing the task over to its internal, efficient habit department. This physiological transformation is the ultimate goal: to move a behavior from the slow, energy-draining prefrontal cortex to the rapid, efficient basal ganglia. Our narrative follows 3 distinct characters who embody the struggle and triumph of habit formation. First, the overwhelmed professional, who needs to adopt a dozen small, disparate habits to manage a demanding career and family life. Second, the aspirational creative, who struggles to maintain the focused discipline required for meaningful output. Third, the long-term change seeker, who battles a deeply entrenched, negative habit they have tried to quit for decades. Their stories will be the real-world canvas upon which the scientific theories are tested. By observing their incremental progress and inevitable setbacks, we gain a human understanding of the four laws in action. Their individual quests for automaticity provide the emotional resonance for the science we explore. We are setting the stage for a dramatic transformation, moving from the chaotic realm of effort to the elegant simplicity of the automatic life. The initial problem that launches our investigation is the phenomenon known as the relapse gap. Why is it that, even after a period of successful habit formation, a few weeks of consistent exercise, a month of healthy eating, or 6 months of sobriety, people so often fall back into their old patterns? It is the classic 2 steps forward, 3 steps back scenario. This suggests that the conventional wisdom on habits, relying solely on 21 days to make a habit or raw motivation, is fundamentally flawed. The core mystery is not how to start a habit, but how to make it resilient, irreversible, and integrated into one's self-concept. For our subjects, this gap manifests in crippling ways. The overwhelmed professional starts strong on her morning routine, only to have it derailed by a single late night, leading to a week-long collapse. The aspirational creative churns out work for a quarter, then hits a wall of resistance and avoids their desk for months. Their common enemy is the valley of disappointment, where the initial excitement wears off before the real results, the delayed rewards of a habit, have a chance to appear. This is the moment most people quit. We consult with experts who reject the notion of a fixed 21-day timeline, emphasizing instead the concept of variability. The time it takes for a habit to become automatic is highly variable, depending on the complexity of the task and the person's personality. Trying to force a difficult habit too early, like a 60-minute workout, is a common error. The mystery deepens when we realize that the brain does not distinguish between good and bad habits. The loop of automaticity is indifferent to morality. A negative habit that offers an immediate, tangible reward will always outcompete a positive habit that only offers a delayed, abstract reward. Our task is to reverse engineer this mechanism. We must find the leverage points within the habit loop that can make the delayed rewards of positive behavior feel immediate, thereby bypassing the relapse gap and ensuring the habits stick for good. The first major clue in solving the relapse gap mystery comes from the surprising power of cues. The initial focus for most people is on the response, the action itself, but the true leverage lies in making the habit obvious. The critical discovery is that habits are context-dependent. They are tethered to specific times, places, and preceding actions. If the cue is weak, the habit is fragile. Strong cues are the anchors that hold the habit in place against the winds of distraction and stress. This leads us to the concept of habit stacking, a profound shift in thinking proposed by behavior experts. Instead of trying to find time for a new habit, you attach it to an existing one. The structure is simple: after a current habit, I will, new habit. This technique is a crucial hack of the brain's associative memory. You are not building a habit from scratch. You are leveraging the automaticity of a current one. The existing habit acts as a powerful, built-in cue. We see this in action with our subjects. The overwhelmed professional stops trying to start her meditation whenever she finds a moment and anchors it to her morning coffee. After I pour my first cup of coffee, I will meditate for 60 seconds. The aspirational creative, instead of facing a daunting blank page, implements a simple cue: after I eat lunch, I will open my word processor and write one sentence. This small, seemingly insignificant change in phrasing and execution yields dramatic results. The resistance, that initial inertia that kills most habits, is dramatically reduced because the decision is already made. The momentum of the current habit carries the new behavior with it. The discovery here is that environment matters more than motivation. To change your life, you do not need more willpower, you need a better system of cues. We explore how transforming the physical environment, making the desired behavior visible and the undesired behavior invisible, acts as the ultimate, non-negotiable cue. The deep dive into the origin of lasting habits takes us back to the psychological principle of reinforcement theory and the work of B.F. Skinner. While the traditional view focused on external rewards, modern context reframes this within the loop of identity. The origin of a truly sticky habit is not in the results it produces, but in the person it proves you are. This is the shift from outcome-based habits to identity-based habits. Most people approach change in the wrong order. They want the outcome, so they perform the actions, hoping for a new belief. For example, I want to be thin, outcome, so I will exercise, action, and then I will believe I am a healthy person, identity. The sustainable process, however, starts with the identity. I want to be a healthy person, identity, so I will eat healthy and exercise, action, which will produce a desired outcome. The action itself becomes a vote for the person you wish to become. The context of this change is crucial. Every time you perform your new habit, no matter how small, you are collecting evidence for your new identity. One push-up is a vote for, I am a fit person. 1 minute of reading is a vote for, I am a lifelong learner. This is the psychological context that provides true stickiness. The habit is no longer a task to be completed but a declaration of self. When our subjects recontextualize their habits this way, the internal friction disappears. The overwhelmed professional stops seeing her early morning routine as a chore and starts seeing it as the non-negotiable behavior of a focused, disciplined executive. We examine how this identity-based approach addresses the inherent contradiction in behavior change, resisting who you were to become who you will be. By focusing on tiny, consistent wins, the accumulation of identity votes builds a robust psychological wall against relapse. When faced with temptation, the internal question is no longer, do I want to do this? But, what would a person who is, my desired identity, do right now? The habit becomes less about achievement and more about alignment. This powerful shift in internal dialogue is the bedrock upon which genuine and lasting personal transformation is built, moving the context of change from the external world to the internal self. In the world of habit science, conflicting theories often center on the concept of minimum effective dose. One school of thought, the maximum effort model, insists on aggressive, challenging routines to shock the system and create rapid change, often leading to burnout but promising quicker results. The opposing and more scientifically supported theory is the minimum viable habit, MVH, model, which advocates for habits so small they are practically impossible to fail. This is the cornerstone of making a habit easy. The stakes are high. The maximum effort approach risks the catastrophic failure of the relapse gap, while the MVH approach risks a perceived lack of progress and the erosion of momentum. The escalating stakes for our subjects highlight this conflict. The aspirational creative, seeking to write a novel, initially attempts to follow the maximum effort model: I will write 2,000 words a day. This is an immediate, aggressive failure, leading to shame and avoidance. The internal stakes are his self-worth and the completion of his life's work. The MVH model offers a lifeline: I will write one sentence. This is ridiculously easy, but it achieves the primary purpose of a habit, which is showing up. We delve into the science of friction. Every habit has an associated cost of entry, or friction. The brain naturally seeks the path of least resistance. To make a habit stick, you must deliberately decrease the friction for the good behaviors and increase the friction for the bad ones. This is about designing your environment for success. If you want to exercise, lay your clothes out the night before, decreasing friction. If you want to watch less television, take the batteries out of the remote and put them in another room, increasing friction. The conflicting theories converge on the idea that the greatest victory is consistency, not intensity. A habit performed imperfectly is infinitely better than a habit not performed at all. We present the compelling argument that intensity is for results, but consistency is for identity. The habit must be simple enough to perform even on the worst day. The escalating stakes are transformed from the pressure of performance to the non-negotiable commitment to show up. This pivot, from striving for perfection to relentlessly pursuing consistency, is the critical junction where fragile routines solidify into permanent habits. The point of no return in habit formation is reached when the desired behavior shifts from a forced action to a genuine craving. This is where the third law, making the habit attractive, comes into play. A habit must be designed to feel immediately rewarding, bypassing the brain's natural bias toward instant gratification from bad habits. The point of no return is achieved through the art of temptation bundling. Temptation bundling is a technique where you pair an action you need to do with an action you want to do. It uses the desire for the tempting activity as the immediate reward for the beneficial activity. The craving for the want becomes the irresistible cue for the need. For example, I will only listen to my favorite true crime podcast, want, while I am on the treadmill, need. The treadmill workout is no longer a punishment, it is the price of admission for the desired reward. For the long-term change seeker, who is trying to overcome a negative habit, this principle is reversed and intensified. The negative habit, which provides an immediate but ultimately destructive reward, must be made unattractive. This is achieved through commitment devices and social accountability. A commitment device is a decision you make in the present to control your actions in the future. For example, prepaying for a set of personal training sessions or instituting a fine for missed workouts. The immediate pain of the financial loss creates an attractive avoidance habit. The point of no return is not a single day, it is the moment the internal and external forces align to make the difficult habit attractive and the bad habit unattractive. It is the phase where the habit loop is fully closed and self-reinforcing. The cue triggers a genuine craving, and the response delivers an immediate, positive feeling. The change is no longer externally imposed but internally desired. Our subjects begin to experience the joy of performing the habit itself, rather than only focusing on the future outcome. The habit becomes a source of immediate pleasure, a moment in the day they look forward to. They have crossed the threshold from, I should do this to, I want to do this. The halfway revelation, the key midpoint twist, is the realization that a good habit is only truly sticky when it provides an immediate and satisfying reward, the fourth law. This contradicts the long-held belief that good habits inherently have delayed gratification. The twist is that you must artificially engineer immediate satisfaction. If a reward is delayed, the brain fails to associate the reward with the specific action that produced it, and the habit loop fails to close. The challenge is that the most important habits, like saving money or exercising, have inherently delayed rewards. You don't get rich or fit from one action. The revelation is that we must invent a small, immediate reward that is logically coupled to the action. This reward must be a moment of non-negotiable, intrinsic satisfaction, distinct from the ultimate long-term outcome. We introduce the concept of the habit tracker as a psychological reward mechanism. Merely checking off a task on a calendar or a physical sheet provides a tangible, immediate shot of dopamine. It is visual proof of progress, an instant celebration of the small win. The act of, don't break the chain, becomes a reward unto itself. The goal is to make the act of completing the habit the most satisfying part. The twist is transformative for our subjects. The overwhelmed professional, after finishing her 1-minute meditation, immediately puts a large, celebratory checkmark on her whiteboard. This small act is not about recording the data, it is the immediate, satisfying closure of the habit loop. The aspirational creative immediately tracks his single written sentence in a physical notebook. This is the moment the abstract idea of identity-based habits grounds itself in a concrete, physical reward. The midpoint twist is the realization that for a habit to stick, you must cheat the brain's reward system by providing immediate, undeniable proof that the action was worthwhile, even if the grand results are years away. This shift from focusing on the result to focusing on the act of completion is the pivotal turning point in the entire process. New evidence from cognitive psychology emphasizes the profound impact of mindset and identity priming on habit stickiness. The most successful habit formation is deeply interwoven with a growth mindset, the belief that one's abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. The psychological impact of small, consistent habits is that they serve as irrefutable evidence against a fixed mindset. Every tracked success whispers to the individual, you are a person who improves, you are capable of change. We explore how the identity shift from a person who fails to a system builder is the critical psychological anchor. The new evidence suggests that when faced with a lapse, a person with a growth mindset views it as an isolated incident and a learning opportunity, while a person with a fixed mindset views it as proof of their inherent failure. The difference between a slip-up and a full relapse often hinges on this internal narrative. The most critical lesson in habit maintenance is simply, never miss twice. The psychological impact on our subjects is visible. The long-term change seeker has a significant slip-up, but instead of spiraling into self-recrimination, he immediately implements a recovery plan, focusing on getting back on track the very next day. This rapid return is the hallmark of a resilient habit system. The new evidence shows that the recovery from a setback is more important than the setback itself. A single missed day is an accident, 2 missed days is the beginning of a new, negative habit. This section provides the psychological deep dive into the process versus the goal. Goals are about the results you want to achieve, but systems are about the processes that lead to those results. The profound psychological impact of building a great system is that it removes the pressure of the outcome. You fall in love with the process of continuous small improvement. The new evidence points to the fact that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. By shifting the focus to perfecting the system, the 4 laws of making a habit obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, the desirable outcome becomes an inevitable byproduct. Throughout history and in modern motivational culture, there have been systematic attempts to suppress the simple, scientific truth about habits in favor of more dramatic, marketable narratives. The truth being suppressed is that great changes come from tiny, unsexy actions. The suppressors are the purveyors of the motivational lie, the notion that you need a sudden, life-altering epiphany or an immense surge of willpower to change your life. This narrative is exciting, but it is fundamentally destructive to lasting change. We examine the heroic effort myth, the idea that you must endure grueling pain and sacrifice to achieve success. While effort is necessary, the myth suppresses the truth that the most effective effort is leveraged effort, focused on making the habit easier, not harder. This narrative is attractive because it offers a clear villain, laziness, and a clear hero, the motivated self, but it fails because willpower is a limited resource that is drained by every decision throughout the day. Relying on willpower is an attempt to suppress the science of automaticity. The stakes of this suppression are immense. It creates a cultural cycle of self-blame and failure. People fail not because they are inherently flawed, but because they are following a flawed system. They attempt to implement habits that are invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. The truth, which must be consistently championed, is that change is the sum of hundreds of small, manageable, and boring decisions. The suppression is the popular obsession with the peak of the mountain, ignoring the meticulously planned, step-by-step path that actually gets you there. Our investigation concludes that the most subtle form of suppression is the focus on perfection. The pressure to perform a habit perfectly suppresses the truth that slips and lapses are a natural, inevitable part of the learning curve. The person who succeeds is not the one who never fails, but the one who views failure as a data point for system optimization. The final truth we reclaim is that a habit must be built with a tolerance for error. The small, scientific, system-based approach is the quiet revolution that overthrows the loud, unsustainable tyranny of motivation. The pursuit and confrontation section pits our subjects against their greatest enemies, distraction and resistance. Distraction is the brain's insatiable hunger for novelty and immediate reward, which directly confronts the need for consistency and delayed gratification. Resistance is the internal voice of the fixed identity fighting to maintain the status quo. To win, our subjects must learn to master the art of productive boredom. The confrontation lies in the moment the habit becomes routine, when it loses its novelty and becomes boring. This is the critical period where many people quit, mistaking boredom for a lack of progress. The pursuit of long-term success requires showing up and doing the work even when the habit feels monotonous. We explore the concept of the Goldilocks rule. Humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities, not too hard, and not too easy. For the overwhelmed professional, the confrontation is with her smartphone. We detail the physical and digital friction she introduced to win the battle. Apps were deleted, notifications were silenced, and the phone was stored in a different room during her focus hours, increasing the friction of the undesired habit. The pursuit is the intentional crafting of an environment that makes deep work the default. The desired habit must become the path of least resistance. We confront the psychological resistance of starting over. Our long-term change seeker learns to apply the 2-minute rule: start every new habit by making it a 2-minute version of the full activity. The goal is to start, not to finish. The confrontation with the blank page is reduced to write one sentence. The confrontation with the gym is reduced to put on my shoes. This small commitment bypasses the internal resistance mechanism. The pursuit is no longer about forcing the action, but about achieving the entry point. The confrontation is won when the habit is so easy to start that the inertia of starting is less than the resistance of sitting still. This victory, the consistent, reliable ability to show up, is the foundation of mastery. The final pieces of the habit puzzle fall into place when our subjects integrate the 4 laws into a cohesive, self-sustaining system. It is the realization that the 4 laws of behavior change: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying, are not isolated steps but a fluid, interlocking system that addresses every stage of the habit loop. Make it obvious, cue addressed by habit stacking and environment design. The cue is clear, specific, and physically anchored to a time and place. Make it attractive, craving addressed by temptation bundling and reframing the identity. The craving is for the person you become, immediately reinforced by the bundling. Make it easy, response addressed by the 2-minute rule and friction reduction. The action requires minimal effort and maximum convenience. Make it satisfying, reward addressed by habit tracking and immediate intrinsic rewards. The reward is a tangible, immediate shot of positive feeling that closes the loop. The aspirational creative, now writing daily, understands this integration. His cue is the lunch bell. His craving is listening to his favorite album, which he only allows himself to do while sitting at his desk, temptation bundling. His response is easy: he writes one sentence. His reward is checking off the sentence in his digital tracker. This seemingly simple system has solved the complex problem of creative resistance. The individual laws, when applied sequentially, create an insurmountable wall of positive momentum. The final piece is the recognition of the inherent danger of plateaus. As habits become automatic, the focus can drift. The system must be periodically reviewed and optimized. This requires a commitment to continuous improvement and a willingness to occasionally increase the difficulty, raise the bar from 2 minutes to 3, from 1 sentence to 2. The fully realized habit system is not static, it is a constantly evolving mechanism for self-mastery. The goal is not to achieve a habit, but to become the master of the process of habit creation. The truth revealed, the primary conclusion of our investigation, is that the key to building habits that actually stick lies in a radical redefinition of the word change. Change is not an event, but a function of time and system design. The most successful people in any field, the athletes, the artists, the entrepreneurs, are not those with the highest motivation, but those who have engineered the most robust and consistent systems of tiny, effortless habits. The core paradigm shift is from goals to systems. The goal is a result, the system is the process that leads to the results. We conclude that when you fall in love with the process, the outcome takes care of itself. The focus on the 1% improvement daily is the only mechanism that reliably produces extraordinary long-term results. The difference between success and failure is often only the slight accumulation of marginal gains over a prolonged period. This accumulation is invisible on a day-to-day basis, which is why it requires faith in the system. The fundamental truth is that a habit must be built at the level of the individual's identity. The question to ask is not, what result do I want, but what kind of person do I want to become? Every action must be a vote for this desired identity. By making the habits easy, we ensure the votes are cast consistently. By making them satisfying, we ensure the voting process is self-reinforcing. The profound power of the 4 laws is that they turn the abstract goal of self-improvement into a concrete, executable plan for identity alignment. The final, empowering revelation is that you already possess the power to change, but it has been misdirected. Instead of using your energy to fight a battle of willpower every day, you must redirect that energy to designing a superior environment and system. The most successful habit builders are simply the most successful system architects. They have embraced the quiet truth that small, consistent actions, compounded over time, are the unbreakable, foundational force of personal mastery. The aftermath of integrating the 4 laws is a life where success and progress are not a struggle, but a matter of default settings. The legacy of this system is the replacement of self-flagellation and guilt with a resilient, evidence-based approach to living. The modern ties to this habit science are now found everywhere, from corporate behavioral economics to public health initiatives. The principles of making behavior easy and obvious are now being used to subtly guide millions of people toward better decisions without requiring motivational sermons. We check back in with our subjects. The overwhelmed professional has stabilized her life. Her morning routine is now as automatic as breathing, freeing up her mental energy for high-level decisions at work. The aspirational creative has completed his first draft, an achievement he attributes not to a burst of genius, but to the non-negotiable process of writing 1 sentence every day. The long-term change seeker is no longer fighting his old habit, he has engineered a new, more satisfying set of replacement behaviors that occupy the same time slots. His life is defined by what he does now, not what he avoids. The legacy of this work is the democratization of change. It proves that transformation is not reserved for the genetically gifted or the extraordinarily motivated. It is a formula, a set of universal laws that anyone can apply. The modern ties extend to digital design, where user interfaces are explicitly designed to reduce friction and make desired actions easy and immediate. The greatest lesson is that the world is constantly engineering your behavior, often toward the path of least resistance, e.g., constant phone usage. The choice is to either be a passive recipient of these external habits or to become the conscious architect of your own. The focus shifts from the dramatic story of change to the quiet heroism of maintenance. The new legacy is one of boring consistency. It is the daily, unremarkable repetition of small, positive actions that creates an extraordinary life. The triumph is not the singular grand gesture but the relentless, almost invisible commitment to showing up. Our investigation concludes with a summary of the powerful and elegant simplicity of the 4 laws: make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, which, when applied together, create an unbreakable framework for building habits that actually stick. We have witnessed the transformation of individuals trapped in the relapse gap into resilient system builders. The primary conclusion stands firm: focus on the system of continuous improvement, not the single dramatic goal. Your habits are the physical embodiment of your identity, and the simplest way to change who you are is to change what you do, even by the smallest margin. However, a lingering mystery remains, a profound question that points to the next frontier of behavioral science. If a habit becomes truly automatic, residing solely in the basal ganglia, requiring almost no conscious thought, is there a point where we lose the ability to review, assess, and intentionally modify that habit? This is the paradox of automaticity. The very efficiency that brings success also brings the potential for complacency and inflexibility. The lingering mystery is the plateau of local maximum. A person who optimizes a habit to an 8-10 level might get stuck there, prevented by the very stickiness of the habit from exploring a completely new 10-10 system. How do we introduce intentional friction and strategic disruption to a perfectly stable habit system to push for the next level of innovation and growth? The final challenge is not maintaining the good habits we have, but maintaining the flexibility to evolve them. Ultimately, the power of habit science is that it gives us back control. We are not victims of our environment or our past. We are the designers of our future. The work is never truly done, but the tools are now in hand. The journey from struggle to ease is complete, but the journey of constant, mindful optimization has just begun. The question is no longer how to change, but how far we are willing to let our small, consistent habits carry us.